Good to see you. So we're going to sign first, then we'll make some remarks, and then have a conversation with the press, okay? If you don't mind, put that up on my screen. Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming in. You've heard me say it. You've heard it a lot. Affordability is a big issue. I hear it all across the state. I was meeting with some commissioners in Martinsville on the way up today, as well as the head of the council, and it was top of mind for them as well. So it is a two-way street. We got to have dependable generation as well. And when you've got a heavy demand that comes in for something that's got geopolitical underpinnings, it gets it to be kind of a complicated issue. A lot of it has to do with understanding it thoroughly. All I can tell you is that from what's accumulated from the prior administration in terms of inflation, sadly, that's the new baseline. But people want results from the folks that are running the show now, and I think that's why through state governments, legislatures, governor working together, that we'll tackle that probably better than you get any solution from the place where it originated from in the first place. I did do some things based upon what I just said. I appointed a new utility consumer counselor, Abby Gray, that is going to be a different kind of individual in that spot, because I want her to make sure when we do get rate increases that she's going to weigh in, make a recommendation. That's already occurred with AES. I did appoint 3 new members to the IURC. So that is different in those 2 moves than what we've seen collectively from decades before. But I do, again, want to emphasize, it's to make sure it's a two-way conversation, because the places that are getting it right, balancing it between the high demand for electricity when it was flat as a pancake for many, many years, those states, by being enterprising, listening, respecting the ratepayer, and making sure we got dependable generation, those are the states that are going to come out best on this issue. They now do constitute on that IURC a majority, and they were tasked with making decisions in the public interest to ensure utilities provide service at just and reasonable rates. Our energy affordability agenda is showing results. Recently, IMP announced it's proposing a base rate reduction for customers. And last month, NIPSCO announced relief measures, including waived late fees, a pause on service disconnections for non-payment, and reduced reconnect deposits for gas customers. This legislative session, we built on this foundation with legislative action. Today, I'll sign House Enrolled Act 1002. This bill completely overhauls how utilities are regulated to put ratepayers out there over profits. For years, utilities were guaranteed a return on equity for their investments. And again, if you don't have a reasonable return on equity, you're not going to have dependable electricity. But it's got to be a balanced equation. This law introduced performance-based rate making, requiring utilities to meet benchmarks for affordability and reliability. Returns are no longer guaranteed. You got to make the case, keeping both under consideration. Utility companies now must be accountable for affordability. We're making sure the private sector forces of market competition and financial accountability are working to keep costs down for Hoosier families. I want to thank Representative Elena Schonkweiler, Representative Ed Soliday, Senator Eric Cook, Secretary Susie Jaworowski, Executive Director at the Indiana Office of Development, John Ford, and we do have Senator Ford here as well. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership on energy affordability for Hoosiers. There's still more work to do, but I'll say it again. Enterprising legislatures with legislators like these folks and a governor that sizes up a new dynamic in this country that confuses many people, those of us that get it right will be in a win-win situation. Open it up for questions.
They felt, in their words, that the incentives and penalties tied to the multi-year rate plans, they call them modest, and they basically say that the impact of helping Hoosiers right now is being overstated. How do you
I actually reached out to them when they were running commercials based upon stuff that wasn't accurate to tell them that we were working towards this. That's a wonderful statement from someone that was totally against it, because they can see that we've made moves. Probably never going to please them to the extent they'd want to see it, but it shows that we did listen and that we came up with a great product here that takes both sides of the equation into play.
Governor Braun, the IURC is continuing a series of listening sessions. We get to see the official report from the investigative inquiry. From your perspective, what absolutely needs to happen next session to build off of HEA 1002?
Well, I think you got a little indication of what is going to happen. You've seen by their actions already proactively. And we had the interview with the IURC and the 5 IOUs. So these are all new dynamics that should make a strong statement that we're going to be listening. And again, we got to respect both sides of the equation. The fact that affordability, though, is not going to go away because we inherited it from the past administration. We're all, as states, and anything we can do as legislators, we're going to have to fix the issues. And I think you're going to see more and more going forward that there's going to be the willingness to listen where we probably didn't do that before. Let's go to somebody else that didn't ask a question first.
HEA 1002 provides several steps over the next several years that will be implemented. And after the IURC hearing the other day, you said that this bill will give you the tools to address these issues. What specific ways are you going to use the tools in this bill in the short term to give relief?
So everything in that bill, it'll be up to the administration, I as governor, to make sure that we enforce it and implement it. And then while we're doing it, we're going to obviously get input on what we need to do to maybe tweak it or do things differently. All I can tell you is we are going to be the state that gets it right, because if we do get it right, it's going to be the biggest boost to economic opportunity and growth. And on the other hand, we got to do it with the constraint that the consumer is taking on so much and is getting used to it, is now had to endure it for 2 years generally. And utility rates are a place, if we get it right, we can at least get ahead of it, where in many other areas we haven't. So if it doesn't do what's needed to be done, there's going to be input to legislators to maybe do more. Maybe we did too much. We're going to listen. That's why we're going to stay in touch. And if we need to tweak it, add to it in some way, we'll do that. I'm going to go back. Is there anybody else that had a question? Okay, go ahead.
Earlier today, President Trump said he is, quote, not at all concerned with war crimes. He is threatening to hit Iran's infrastructure. What is your response to his comments?
So I don't try to monitor the president's comments. That would take a lot of time. All I can tell you is what he's doing addresses a problem that's been around for decades. And the past responses have been to project weakness and then invite problems that are much harder to solve in the long run. I know I built a business on doing things that were focused on the mid and long term, not the short run. And I think what he's doing is made a big difference there in terms of what he does. I'm sure he'll be fully aware of the consequences. So far, so good. I've also, bring it up before you ask, if in fact, if it goes too long in terms of impacting gas prices, I've got things I can do to relieve some of that pressure on Hoosiers. But then again, I'll tell you this, it's going to be impacting what is probably, when I came into the legislature, the biggest issue was, what are we going to do about our own roads and bridges? Got involved with it. We did something that took bold action. It put us on a pathway for 7 years. And that's why we've got roads and bridges that are meeting the needs of our economy. We got to be careful there as well. Even though gas prices are up, what I would be able to do would be just temporary to help, but I am going to take that into consideration. What President Trump does to litigate the war, I think he's done a good job with it, and it's mostly precipitated by the lack of others not doing something that built up to this point. Take one more question. Go ahead.
Consult the legislature on any changes regarding those taxes. Are you in active talks right now?
I'm just saying that if in fact it persists in terms of high gas prices, we're lucky that we went to a approach of unleashing our ability to produce. If not, we'd be in the same boat as almost every other nation is. So all the right moves have been made. All I'm telling you, that when you run any business or you run a government, especially on a stage like that, you got to consider the mid and long term. So often government takes a view of doing what makes sense in the short run. Thank you for the questions.
Media to start.